Sorry that it's so crazy. I'm at the airport. I know it's been a minute since you've heard from me, and in the episode I will explain where I've been, but I just wanted to start off by sharing something I'm really proud of and excited about. So this whole season has been about the pitch that I've been working on for the last couple of years, and spoiler alert, I did finish a pilot version, which again I will tell you about in this episode, but I decided to submit it to the Tribeca audio storytelling portion of the festival, and it was accepted. My show, called Our Ancestors Were Messy, is an official Tribeca selection, and I can't believe it. I'll be at the festival June 10th, talking about the show with a bunch of people, and I don't know, I'm just really excited. The show ultimately is about, no, thanks. The show is about, I'm telling stories about Black history pulled from the gossip columns and the society pages of pre-civil rights era newspapers. And it's a comedy. It's meant to be fun, but also a reflection on how we formed identity before the civil rights era and immediately after slavery. I'm really, really proud of it. I'm so grateful to everybody that helped me with it. And I wanted you to be the first to know, so you can actually go check out the pilot. It's available right now, wherever you get your podcasts. It's called Our Ancestors Were Messy. Very much inspired by, the series Your Ancestors Were Messy, and y'all's response to it, honestly. It kind of let me know I was onto something. And since then, I've just been toiling away trying to make a version of it that could stand on its own. And I finally have, so. With that, I think that's everything. Yeah, this episode takes place between, when did I leave LA? March of 2023 and now, May of 2024. Yeah, hope you enjoy it. Oh wait, sorry, I forgot the intro. I'm Nicole Hill, and these are The Secret Adventures of Black People. So when we left off, I was leaving LA, and it was in defeat. At the time, I was trying to be romantic about it, but when I left, I was very burnt out and a little sore from all the rejection and then the industry downturn and all kinds of other things. I was just sad. In retrospect, I made two mistakes. So, the first. I thought I was meant to be brave and leave the comforts of home and travel to a cabin in the woods and write the next great American podcast. And I did it, and it felt good for a while, but I just felt like I was missing some energy, and I couldn't write or think or even really be that curious or enjoy myself without it. So I left, and I went home to Virginia Beach to to mope around my dad's garage, honestly.
And you ask somebody, tell me the story of you. Oh man, there's nothing much to tell. I just, but then if you're just sitting around chopping it up, and then they start telling you stories, it's like, oh, that was really interesting. I want to know more about your dad, or I want to know more about your grandfather. Like you said, what?
The first stories I ever wrote were inspired by, cartoons and stuff, but also my mom and my dad and all the elders and these stories that they would tell us about a time that existed before you were ever even a thought. That's how they always put it. And we'd ride around in my dad's car and listen to old school music, and he'd be like, this is what was big in the 60s and the 70s. And I was like, what are the 60s and the 70s? I was very curious about that or consumed by it. For a year in elementary school, actually, I prayed every single night that I would wake up in the past. Just for a day, I just wanted to see it. When I was home, he and I talked a lot about the past and how he looks at it now, which kind of surprised me.
I'm just interested in what Dad say, and it's like, oh man, I didn't say it. I wish I would have known that.
You're interested because you Not for yourself, like what your dad would have said to you, but more so what you wish you said to us?
Yeah, what I wish I would have known. You know, because there's so much stuff. It's like, I want to do over. Like, I didn't know how to be a dad. And it's like, now I'm here, but all my kids are grown. And I know what to say now. Or I know a lot of cool things that I should have been doing. Like, you know, like a lot of times I listen to y'all and it's like, oh, the rides we took were so great. The music, you know, the talks. But it's like, I hear stuff like daddy-daughter dates. And it's like, dang, I didn't do that. Or, you know, my dad would do this. And it's like, man, I didn't do that. I didn't know to do that. You know, it's like, all I knew was grind. Like, oh, they're going to need a coat. Oh, they're going to need some shoes. Oh, they're going to, you know, like, so I was just in grind mode. But, so, like, having those conversations, like, who shaped you the most? Like, and, you know, I never even thought about, you know, I told you Mr. Murray. Like, he's a guy that lived across the street from us for years. Like, my grandmother, he lived across the street from her first, and then we moved into her house.
I really liked getting to hang out with my dad. Like, not for a short amount of time on the holidays or, you know, sharing him with the siblings and the grandkids. It was nice to just sit every day and talk. And I decided I wanted to do that with more people that I loved. And so I traveled to Richmond and D.C. and New York.
The thing that I tell myself is the universe has consistently worked in my favor. When I total everything up, the universe has consistently worked in my favor. So why would that change now?
I felt like I was on a ladder of growth. And I still feel like I'm on a ladder of growth. It just feels like I'm starting to wonder what's up top. And if there are places in which, you know what, it's fine to just step off and get off. Just stand on this ledge here and hang out on this ledge.
Oh.
Maybe that's it. Something like that. That's my analogy.
Journey of self-discovery is going to take on a new shape as I try to help this new tiny human also hopefully, you know, find their own path and find their own journey while I keep learning about myself along the way.
I'm crying.
I know. I'm like, oh my God. Oh. Then I went down to Memphis to stay with my little sister. Shantae, be interesting now. Go.
I have nothing to say.
She's a teacher by day and a poet the rest of the time, writer too. And the plan was to visit for a week, but I ended up staying a couple months.
I think that you just literally gave a textbook example of circular reasoning.
I think you're circular reasoning. I think that maybe we unpack some of our... Hey guys, we're in Chicago and we are
recording an actual video and it's
walking
so sad
up
that this is what you're doing on the show. It's really sad.
And one weekend we decided to road trip from Memphis to Chicago. And we went to see a bunch of stuff, but we ended the trip at the American Writers Museum.
Smells good.
Yes, we're here to go to the American Writers Museum. Perfect, thank you. And there was this exhibit there about the writing habits of famous authors. And some of them wrote 15-ish minutes a day. Others wrote all day, every day. Some got wasted and pumped out the classics. And other people wrote, you know, just like a page a day for 100 years and they died. And we found it later and we were like, it's a masterpiece. And I was looking at the exhibit and I was like, you know what my mistake was? I don't know how I write. I don't know what kind I am, you know, like the practice of it. And while I was traveling around and spending all this time with people I loved, I actually was writing again and enjoying it. And I learned that I'm the kind that holds up in an apartment of a loved one and writes for like an hour or two, really early in the morning. And then I go off with my people and I recharge. That's what I do. It's not an efficient way. I wish I had a, you know, way that was like sitting down and just writing everything all at once, but I don't. At least not yet. People are my spark.
I feel very disorientated a lot of the time, but I feel that I am very mid-30s.
I don't know. I would like to think that Scotland is not off the table.
I've been a good man. I've been a so-so man. I've been a bad man. I've been a bad partner. I've been a good partner. I've been a lot of things.
And I went and looked at my numbers. I was like,
in the rear view mirror.
I can do this.
Better
Like,
space mentally.
In the past.
Okay, and where have you been? A few weeks into my stay in Memphis, I broke out the notes from my pitch meetings, and I started to really read through all the reasons people had given for saying no to me and my idea. And that's when I sort of figured out the problem number two with my original LA plan. Okay, so this idea, I wanted to make, I'm just going to tell you. I wanted to make this show. It's all about Black history, but I wanted... do you remember the series that I made about, it was like the ancestors had skills and they were talking and they were messy? I love all of them, but I think that the ancestors had skills was the one. Well, actually, the ancestors had skills and the ancestors were talking were the ones I really, really wanted to make because they were about how skilled like laborers that enslaved people were, and it was just a speech to them being like, do not think that you're nothing, that you're all these things people told you. You are architects, you are, like farmers, you're brilliant and you can do this, be free and build a life. And I had people on to like discover the history, and I didn't talk at all on it. You just listened to them go back and forth about what it felt like to discover this history, and I thought that was amazing. And the ancestors were messy was like the entry into it, because it was like a love triangle in Victorian era, Black wealthy DC, and I love that one too. That was the most fun, and the other ones kind of had the philosophy stuff I wanted to discuss. So I built the pitch largely around the philosophy stuff, and when we would be talking, people would be into it, but then when they would read the pitch, they were like, this is, quite boring. At first, I was very offended by those notes, when I had heard them before, but with some time and space and distance and feeling more energized, I was like, you know what? They're not wrong. I mean, I don't want to listen to a show about... I don't want to listen to something too self-serious. And I was like, you know what? I should just host the show the same way I host this one. Where it's just like, I'll just talk about these stories. And I think in the original pitch, somebody was like, kind of just presenting them alone. And I was like, well, I can't, I'm all my energy comes from people. So I will bring somebody on. And I'll tell them a story that I found in a, society pages or the gossip columns of some old Black newspaper. And I'll ask them what would they do if they were in the story. I started iterating. So I had my friends sit in while I read them my draft scripts and did, little sample episodes. And I did this one of my favorites, an old movie recap of... Well, I won't tell you the movie in case I actually end up making this, but it's like the 1940s equivalent of Black Panther, just in terms of like the excitement that it inspired among Black people. And I was like, telling him the story, and I was like, would you go see this? Like, do you think that you would be as hyped as they were? And then he's like, no, I don't believe in ghosts. And then he shoots him. Bullet 2. He's feeling brave again. The drumming gets louder, gets faster. He keeps running.
Ooh, it's building. You are building it, but you go right on ahead. Ooh, my nerves. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
So he's running. He's so tired. He's lost his little hat. And from that, I developed a series that I named Our Ancestors Were Messy.
The Secret Adventures of Black People and Cocoa Hill Productions present Our Ancestors Were Messy.
Percy Julian danced, drank wine, and ... with Professor's daughter.
Today, a scandal is percolating in Howard University.
And I submitted it to the Tribeca Audio Storytelling Festival. And would you believe me if I told you that it got accepted and that it's debuting in June? Well, it's true. Yeah, it exists, which is a miracle, and people, audio jurors dug it, think it's good. So, that's great and really encouraging, and I'm going to make the show. I'm independent right now, but I'm back to pitching. But I'm also kind of looking into, I don't know, what if I stayed independent and I just tried to fundraise for it on my own? We'll see. Dude, if I do that, I promise you, I will detail that journey on this show so that anybody else who is trying to, make something happen on their own can, we can crowdsource information because it's hard. But, yeah, anyway, I'm really excited and I'm happy that it exists, and I'm really looking forward to making way more episodes and throwing myself into the archives because it's beautiful and there's so much to find in history. There's so much. All of this has happened before and it will all happen again. You know what I mean? That's Battlestar Galactica. All right. This is the last episode of the season. Not the show, but the season. I just wanted to let you know how things turned out. And thank you for being along for the ride with this season and all my other seasons. I read your emails and your DMs and, texts from my friends. I can't believe you guys are listening to this show. I think that's odd, but it's okay. And I look at the, the reviews and all that stuff, and it makes me brave. So thank you. And thank you to so many other people who have also helped to make this series possible and my life possible. Okay, so I'm going to thank you, and it's in no specific order. Here we go. Celica Smith, thank you for being such a compassionate story editor. And Trindell Lightburn, thank you for being such a patient and a loving sound designer. Thank you to everybody featured on this season and who housed me and fed me and loved on me when I needed it. Thank you, Mom and Dad. Thank you, Shantae and Dante and Aunt Stephanie and Nyla and Keith. Thank you, Tia. Thank you, Kyler. Thank you, Xavier. Thank you, Harold and Kevin and Tay and Jasmine and Lizzie and other Kevin and Zariah and Lanika, my Lyft drivers and Sarah and Uncle Albert. Thank you, Asafa. Thank you, Dina. The guy at the dealership that upgraded me from economy to a Mercedes-Benz, that was so nice. Thank you, Talia and Tara Lynn and Martina and Vanessa and Rich. Thank you, Chioke and Ronald and Mark and Davey. Thank you, Hannah and Kia and Ellen and Yoe and John. Thank you so much for believing in my vision, Adriana and Tracy and Tadek and Alex and May and the entire Berlin crew. We could have been contenders, but the world was not ready. Thank you to my improv team. I don't know her. I've forgotten people. I'm sure of it, and I'm so sorry, but I love you deep. And that's it. I hope you had a good time. I don't know when I'll be back. I'm gonna share the pilot with you though very soon. And after that, I gotta work, but as soon as I have another story, like a present day story too, because I still love the present as much as I love the past. So how about this? As soon as I have another story for you about Black folks holding it down across space and time, I will, I'll send out the bat signal. I'll send out the hat signal. If you know, you know. And then we can meet up here. Sound good?